I realized that if I ever wanted to build the kind of life that I wanted in real estate, the thing that I needed, if I was going to talk to a whole bunch of people, was I needed leverage. And that's what social media and content did for me. I chose YouTube because it's time on brand.
Yeah, I
That's
love that.
the only thing that matters. And you start to do the math on this, you're like, oh, what do you mean like your YouTube video got 8,000 views? Like I can get like 25,000 views on Instagram on a 15-second reel. And it's like, I remember having this conversation with my son, and I think it kind of like perfectly illustrates why I favor long form. But there's a confidence that comes from mastery. Like a confidence that you know your market, that you understand how to serve your clients, that you know how to, at will, generate more leads and opportunity for your businesses based on the style of content, because you built that muscle.
Today we're talking with Brad McCallum. Brad is a luxury agent out of Calgary, Canada, team leader, a social media influencer, public speaker, and he's built the largest network here at Real Broker. So we're going to be talking about personal branding and how his brand played a role in his success as a real estate agent, as a team leader, and as an agent attractor here at Real. Brad, how are you today, man?
I'm doing great, man. We've known each other for a real long time, so I'm looking forward to just kind of sitting down, catching up, and seeing where this chat goes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you and I first met in 2019 at this little private mastermind Tim Macy put together for people focusing on video.
That's right.
And I remember when I first met you, you were maybe 2 years, 3 years into the industry. You were just getting started. And I was already really impressed by the videos that you've done. And you've gone on to build this huge personal brand over the last 5 years. What would you say is, why is it important for agents to build a personal brand rather than relying on, let's say, their company's brand?
Yeah, okay. Well, this is something I heard Ricky Carruth once say from stage. He said that you need to have 1,000 conversations to earn your first $1 million in real estate. It's 1,000 conversations, your first million. And then you start doing the math on that of like, how many new people did I talk to today, right? And it's almost unbelievable. Like if you're able to actually have 1,000 conversations, it might take you 10 years, and that's why you make $100,000 a year. Some agents choose to do it in 5. Some agents choose to do it in 2. The only way that I know how to actually build a real estate business that is having conversations with people that are potential buyers and sellers in your market is to do so over social or over YouTube. And I mean, YouTube is far and away the largest viewership platform these days. It's like 13% of all videos that get watched are on YouTube. It destroys Netflix, Crave, Paramount, Prime Video, everything. And so when you start to realize the power of it, I realized that if I ever wanted to build the kind of life that I wanted in real estate, the thing that I needed, if I was going to talk to a whole bunch of people, was I needed leverage. And that's what social media and content did for me. It provided me the leverage to talk to all these people indirectly, like one to many, but yet in a way that made them feel like I was speaking directly to them, that they reached out and said, hey, Brad, would you be interested in coming by and giving us a price on our home?
Yeah, I love that perspective that you need to have 1,000 conversations, and this one-to-many platforms allow you to do that. Talk more about, like, why did you decide to go all in on YouTube compared to short form content on TikTok or Instagram?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny. Like, I think for guys like you and me, we've been doing YouTube now for like 6 or 7 years, and we have been in and out of fashion like 4 or 5 times now, right? It's like, oh, it's cool again. Now everything's going to TikTok, right? And then so now TikTok is not so much, so everyone's going to Reels, and then there's YouTube Shorts and all this stuff. And the reality is like, if I changed my diet or my workout routine every time I learned of a new diet or workout routine, like I would be in the shape that I am in today, because I'm not very good at keeping a diet or a workout routine. But the reality is like, I chose YouTube because it's time on brand.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the only thing that matters. And you start to do the math on this, you're like, oh, what do you mean like your YouTube video got 8,000 views? Like I can get like 25,000 views on Instagram on a 15-second reel. And it's like, I remember having this conversation with my son, and I think it kind of like perfectly illustrates why I favor long form. He was really nerved out about like school and like just how much he was on his devices and stuff. And he came to me one night And he actually had like tears in his eyes. And he's like, I'm just like, he's like, I'm wasting so much of my life. Like I'm on my phone all the time. I don't even remember what I laughed at 5 minutes ago.
What a great realization that young.
Yeah,
There's adults who don't even realize that yet,
exactly,
you know?
right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is wild. Like we've trained our minds to just like want dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. But the funny thing was, even for him, it was like, it wasn't resonating, right? Like he had a few people and like, he's like, you've got these comic channels where like they release like, you know, and I'm like, man, you got to have a lot of jokes. Like, because people, if they can consume your content in 15 seconds, they're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? 2 minutes later, they've consumed everything you've ever produced. And now it's all old news to them.
Yeah.
They're like, they want more and more. It's like a beast with a ferocious appetite, you know, and you just never can do it enough. What I love about YouTube though, is that you have to just show up on Instagram in someone's feed. Like, you're not meeting them in the moment that they're thinking about making a decision. Whereas on YouTube, the only way for them really to see your content is if they've first told the algorithm that they are looking for information that maybe answers questions they have about their city, about the real estate market, about certain styles of homes, or they're looking for properties. And so the algorithm is so advanced that it's a search engine, and it gives people the opportunity to actually say like, oh my gosh, like I'm watching this video because the third party in this arrangement, YouTube's told me it was valuable. And so it's like referral based. It's like social proof that if YouTube shows you the content, like, okay, they're suggesting this video next. Like these are very, very powerful things. And then you start to realize like, well, wait a second, I don't need to be in front of 20,000 people for 10 seconds. What I'd like to do is be in front of one person for like 4 minutes, long enough so they can see what I actually do, learn about my service, learn about how value I can be, or what I know about my city. Like I can actually build some rapport with them over this period of time. And so YouTube has this unique thing that I think now more than ever, those of us who stayed focused on building our YouTube channels are being rewarded with this all sorts of different leverage it provides our lives and our businesses and flexibility and all this stuff because our audiences really care and they've been with us for a long time. And now it's like, if you look around the industry, like 80% of small businesses would say that their YouTube channel is extremely vital to the success of the business. And so that was just in YouTube's like newest sort of impact report from 2024. And it's like the next 2 decades, like we are at the start of the creator economy, right? And especially for people who are watching this who are in the real estate world, like there'll be 8,000 people on their board, but that doesn't stop them from getting their real estate license. They go get their real estate license. They can find 4 people that have YouTube channels in their area and they're like, oh, the market's saturated.
Yeah.
You're like, what kind of logic is this? Like, come on, guys. Like you have got to believe that if you've got something of value to share, that you're going to find your audience. And that's the thing that YouTube does really well. That's its job.
Yeah, I love that perspective of staying focused. Because I know when TikTok came out, everybody was saying you have to be on TikTok. And then Facebook came out with Facebook Reels. They're like, oh, you got to be on Facebook. And then Instagram Stories, you got to be on Instagram Stories. And like you've done some of this other stuff as well, but you've always stayed consistently focused on YouTube. Yeah. Sometimes you need to just pound away at a project for years in order to really start seeing success at it. You can't just be bouncing back and forth.
I actually think that's one of the most important things, like even, and like not to bring it back to my son again, but like I know like mastery only comes from doing something for an obnoxiously long period of time, right? Like I understand the whole 10,000 hours thing and that analogy and, you know, whether or not you fully buy into that or not, but there's a confidence that comes from mastery. Like a confidence that you know your market, that you understand how to serve your clients, that you know how to, at will, generate more leads and opportunity for your businesses based on the style of content because you've built that muscle. And all of a sudden, the ups, the downs, the seasonality of our industry, the interest rate issues, all those things, they all become sort of moot because you have this accelerator pedal that you get to choose to press whenever you want.
Yeah, I love that. And can you kind of quantify a little bit for the people, like What percentage of your business do you think has come from YouTube versus Instagram, TikTok, Facebook?
Yeah, so like I would say, even amongst my sphere, it's probably 75% as a result of the content that I create. Because in my sphere, like like I have a cousin that's a real estate agent, and my sister-in-law is a real estate agent. Like there's just so many agents in my world, and ultimately at the end of the day, I'm not going to go and badmouth these people and say like, oh, you should go with me instead. I wanted to put something out into the world where people would say like, that's what I want for representation. I want this person over here, right? On a broader sense, I would argue that at this point, it's been so self-reinforcing. Like all of our business in the early days came outside of that sphere of influence from YouTube or indirectly from the content I created, where it set up the builder relationship that then brought me like 15 or 16 listings that then spiraled into like a 5-year relationship. But all of that was a result of the content that they see. Not, I didn't grow up in the city I live in, so I don't have those deep roots. I wasn't on hockey teams or part of a golf club or something like that where I had this built-in network. So I had to all build it from scratch. And unfortunately, that was what the content did for me. It made me a fixture of our city.
Yeah, I tell a lot of people that content gives you credibility.
Yeah.
You weren't raised in that city, or not from there, you didn't have these deep insights, but creating content gives you that credibility. Like you said, it also builds relationships. You establish a relationship with the builder. And I think that it increases your lead conversion from any source. So your sphere of influence, they may be SOI lead, but they watch your YouTube videos and they kind of deepen that relationship with you.
Absolutely. Now, we haven't done a lot of paid advertising, almost virtually nothing.
Yeah.
But ironically, what happens is, we have all these viewers, right? We've had, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 million views now on my YouTube channel and over 50,000 subscribers. And what's happened though is that a lot of those people, when they interacted with the channel for a while, maybe they never made a buying decision or something. I'm still kind of around. They might have stopped watching for a year or two. But the thing is we're there. People kind of know that we're around. So if I was to go do paid advertising right now, a couple of things I've got going for me, right? First off, like it is separate from my organic stuff, but they will have seen it. So there's already some familiarity that I can introduce to people on. But also because I've built that muscle of creating content and I know how to speak to an audience and what drives them to take action now because I've been doing this for 6 years, because I always followed my analytics, because I always tried to be specific with who my audience was for, and I always tried to film the most relevant topic for those people. I can now go back and I can create a video marketing that associates them with what I do. And where I've never asked anyone for my business, I can now go back and say to people like, hey, this is a 15-second YouTube pre-roll ad that just shows people who we are and what it is we do. So the content that we make for that video will be better received and is better received than the person who doesn't do video and is just trying to sell, like their local business or their local service, right? Because we've seen those ads on YouTube and they're just like, eh. But if you can all of a sudden create something that's entertaining and kind of insightful and has like a little message and just gets that one pure thought across, it's going to actually reduce the value of the cost of our ad spend because paid advertising is weighted exactly the same as organic advertising or organic content, is that it's all about like watch time.
Yeah. I've heard that like even with paid ads, they have to see the ad 5, 6, 7 times before they actually take action.
Yeah.
And so for you, they're familiar with you. People in your market probably at some point they've seen one of your videos, maybe multiple videos over the last couple of years. And so if you do paid ads, it's going to be just that much more effective.
Well, I remember talking with a radio company back when I had a renovation business, and they were telling me. I was like, oh, they're like called out to see if I'd be willing to advertise. And I was like, oh, I'm curious about what radio is like. This is probably like 2011, 2012. And I talked to them, they're like, listen, we will not sell you a campaign that's like less than 4 months. And I was like, well, why? And they're like, because people need to hear it on their drive home, like continually over and over and over and over and over again before they actually start to take action. So otherwise you'll do it for a month and you'll be like, no, it didn't work, right? But yet we talk with people all the time in our industry who wants to get started,
Yeah.
and it will tell us, well, I did it for a month, or I did it for 2 months,
So,
and it never happened. And it's like, guys, it's like all of the good stuff comes on the other side of that. And if you do it just long enough to get that first lead, you'll be so fueled up to keep going. And by the time that 5th and that 10th lead start to come in, you'll be like, how was there ever a path for me to do this? Like, you wanted a show, you had to be cast by Netflix. Right now, it's like, I don't want to be on Netflix. Are you kidding me? I don't want someone else to control my brand, how I look, what I would say. Much rather be on YouTube all day long.
yeah, you had all these gatekeepers that
Yeah.
you had to go through in order to get that kind of exposure.
Absolutely.
Now you can build your own personal brand. You can have your own YouTube channel, your own TV show, which is effectively kind of what you have. It's almost a TV show in a lot of ways. And so if an agent's watching this and they want to get started on YouTube, either with home tours or educational content, like what kind of advice do you have for somebody just getting started on YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I would probably say you have to know exactly who your audience is. Like, so specifically, who are you talking to? I love Alyssa Kernut. She's a great agent out of Spokane, does some really great content. She does it on Instagram, but her audience is mothers with children between the ages of 2 and 14.
Wow. Very specific.
Most people are not that specific. They're like citizens of New York City. And you're like, there's a lot of different people in New York City. And the ironic thing is that the broader you try to go, the more competition there is, right? And it's so much harder to be relevant and qualified and stand out and all this stuff. But the more specific you go, the more niche you go, the easier it is to find that audience. So even if you want to expand on that, you might find that down the road that there's a lot of sort of parallel topics or interests to what you niched in on. But if you find those people, you can do well. So I would say know your audience, and then if you know that audience, if it's moms between the ages of 2 and 12, then you know exactly what's on their mind, what's worrying them about the economy right now, right? About summer, about their community, about some changes, some road work, some like all these different things. And if you can be that person that helps navigate them or understand their city better or feel more at home or take even more pride in where they live, all of those things become rewarded with sort of brand loyalty. And it's like that 10,000 true fans. You've heard about that?
No, I don't think so.
So in 2011, this author came out with this sort of essay he wrote, and he put it on, just put it online. And I believe it was either 2009 or 2011. And this essay was like, basically all you want is 1,000 true fans. And it was for creators. But of course, this is very early on in YouTube days. So it wasn't so much for video creators, it was for musicians who were feeling the whole challenge with MP3s and streaming and audio and how they couldn't make money anymore and all this stuff. And so many people were like, how am I going to make a living? And so they just felt like if I don't have a number one record, right, then that part of the industry is gone. Mm-hmm. And so this article came out called 1,000 True Fans. And what it spoke to was those artists. And they said, listen, you don't actually need to fill stadiums. What you need is 1,000 true fans that will buy your next CD. They'll go to your show when you're in town, right? They will buy your B-sides. They'll buy the poster. When you travel an hour and a half away, you go through and you play the next town over. They get a hotel that night. They bring their family and their friends, and they go and see that thing too. And if you have a true fan, that true fan will follow you. They will support your business. And 1,000 true fans is enough to support your business. And I would argue most agents don't have 1,000 true fans, people who are here to watch them win, support them in their business and all of that stuff. And if they did, could you imagine how many people are buying and selling out of a group of 1,000 people every year? You're doing 30, 40 deals just from that sphere, no problem, if not more, right? And so we focus on virality. We focus on these master plans of I'm going to go from 0 to posting, 4 long form videos a week and 15 things. Man. And it's like they've got these master plans, and I'm like, guys, you just got to post something. You got to get started. Just go do something that wins you a few fans, and 5 become 10, 10 become 20, a lot faster than you might think. And the time passes. Like none of us look back and be like, wow, like COVID is like 5 years ago now. Like that's insane. Like that, it feels like a blink, right? But time passes so fast. So like, unless you're ready to get out of the industry, like you should get started on building this business.
Yeah. So let's talk about building a brand in general,
Yeah.
because you do like graphic designs and you design logos and you used to design houses and kitchens. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, renovations and designs. Yeah. I mean, I love the design and the creative side of things for sure. And I shot and edited everything myself in the beginning. I don't enjoy graphic design. I hate it. It's like one of the things I hate. But the reality is if you don't have a compelling thumbnail and you don't have that stuff, and as easy as it would be to offload this to the million different emails that realtors get from people saying that they can improve their YouTube channels and their content, it's almost always wrong. Like there's not that much to know about designing a thumbnail or a title. It's like create curiosity or tension. Tension's even better oftentimes. So people essentially, I think the best way to understand all content, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you could make everything a lot simpler if you just simply said, hey, what happens next?
Yeah.
What happens next? If you can create that feeling in the eyes of someone who's viewing, who watches the thumbnail and thinks like, ooh, well, what happens if I click on that video? Or that title, ooh, what happens next in the real estate market here in Calgary? Like what happens next that's the payoff. Like you need to watch the video and find out. And then if you write that into your scripting and your style, what you're creating is a sense of you need to stick around because there's more value. The value's coming up in the video, and that increases retention and watch time, which then increases distribution and audience. And so that's what I focus on. Like all the creativity goes around storytelling around what is going to happen next in my videos.
Yeah. Now, in 2021, you and I both moved our businesses over to Real Broker.
Yeah.
And one thing I love is that there's so many creators like you and I here. Like that's part of the culture here is innovation and content creation. What was the moment where you knew that moving your business to Real, which was a pretty big risk at that time, it was less than 2,000 agents, we're in 30
I was the first
states.
sign in the ground in Canada.
Yeah, we weren't even open in Canada. Like you were the very first person, and there's some headaches that's getting established there.
Yeah.
What was the moment, though, that you knew that you wanted to take that risk and help build this company into what it is today?
Well, I'll be totally honest with you. When it came to this style of business, the revenue share model, brokerages, publicly traded stocks, cloud-based, all of that stuff, my experience with those companies in the past had been that the revenue share element was almost always toxic for the culture. Like it was like a cancer that grew inside where it's like, well, if if I talk to you, Malcolm, right, but you also talk to him, then I got to tell you that guy's not a great guy because he's not going to keep his promises because there's something more in it for me if you sign with me. And so I kind of got turned off on the whole thing. The problem was my whole business was based on scale that I got by having this community of video creators around North America that I could pour into, contribute into, and ask for help. Like, hey, Malcolm, like how many times did you help me on YouTube? Like so many times, right? And then I would talk to someone else like a Ken Pozak and ask him about, okay, like when you hired your team, like or started your, hiring an operations manager, what did that job description look like? Because I was creating content and part of a community, I realized that my business was scaling up so quickly because agents supporting agents is the big unlock.
Yeah.
You go back too far and it's like top-down coaching. Brokers are not teaching you how to sell more. They're teaching you how to not get the brokerage sued, in most cases, right? So almost everything, it's this like, starve or eat what you kill in this industry, right? And we act like people can't make it, but all of us could raise our hands and say, I know a bad agent that shouldn't have got that listing that's massively successful. So to get around to answering your question, what was different about Real for me was I knew that on one side, even though this model had kind of turned me off because I was recruited so heavily by other brokerages, the other side of that coin was that it valued the agents and their contribution to the brokerage. And it was agents supporting agents that helped me skyrocket my business. And I knew that these were everyone that reached out to me already and would ask me like, hey, how long does it take to edit your video? Or how long do you spend on making videos? Or how much business do you get from YouTube? I answered every one of those people because I was so grateful for the community of agents that would share their secrets with me. I was so grateful that I wanted to give back that I was like, this is the thing. And I knew like I could do what other agents did and try to create a course and sell coaching and all that stuff. And I didn't want to do that. So I saw Real in 2021. And when we talk about risk, like I sold 71 million in real estate that year myself. Like it was a bonkers year for me. Plus I had my team and they were all selling. And I knew there was risk going to a brokerage that didn't have it. But you know what? I had someone tell me very high up in the RE/MAX world that I had RE/MAX privilege and I didn't realize it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what's that?
I haven't heard this one yet.
And essentially what that means is that the people that were working with me were people that were working with me because I was with RE/MAX. I was one of the 1,300 RE/MAX agents in Calgary. And for some reason that funneled me down to like the person they were going to decide. And I just said to the man, and I said, you know, in the top corner of my YouTube channel and all my videos, right? I got like 1.7 million views this year. It says RE/MAX first. And if any other company on this earth wanted to be in that top corner, they'd have to pay to be there. Pay to be in front of my audience. Pay to be watched for 4 minutes on average times 1.7 minutes. That is a lot of time. That is like literally 25 minutes for every real-time minute. Like in a 24-hour day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. Like forget about it. The value is not the brokerage ever.
You were probably doing more for RE/MAX than they were for you.
By far. And the funny thing is because there was no partnership, and I loved my brokers and the office was great. So it was not a question about that. It was a question about it. For me, it was an indication that the model just no longer served a modern agent. And it was like, as my influence grew, guess what my office wanted from me? They wanted me to think less of myself and what I had built, because they knew that if I knew how many agents were coming to the office because they saw that I was at RE/MAX, they knew that I might be able to negotiate some better splits, some better fees. So it was this constant push and pull of like everyone's values were misaligned, right? What they wanted, what I wanted for my business, they just weren't the same. What I saw at Real was not that Real was this savior company that was going to change my business. What I saw it was a platform that I could build my business on and get what I wanted from it, which was more leverage. The only thing I'm interested in my life is leverage. The reason people start real estate teams is in hopes of leverage. Often they don't receive it. The reason you start to create content is so your content can have conversations on your behalf, so you have leverage in your life. Like leverage is the ultimate thing. It is the goal and is the one thing that most agents don't have at all in their life. Real allowed me to take the production I was doing already and start to earn stock, right? For what I was already doing, instead of getting sent a link to buy the top producer award for selling 71 million in Calgary in 2021, like I got from RE/MAX. Like that was the difference. I was like, wait a second, all these things that I'm doing already, these conversations I'm having with people already, these people that are reaching out, this is leverage. This is all leverage. And I don't have to recruit anyone. I can let these things happen with the work that we're already doing.
Yeah.
And you know what? I also knew that the way we had the opportunity with Real to wash the board clean, say, let's start fresh, let's build our own reputation with our kind of people, let's put values into our independent contractor agreement, let's hold ourselves to higher standards, let's don't go the low route, let's try to engineer something like that by its structure promotes the kind of culture we all wish we were part of. And so coming to Real made me realize that, and making that move to Real made me realize there was an opportunity. I felt like there was an appetite, I should say, for this in my business. And I thought, man, if I'm feeling this, there's got to be so many other agents that are looking for this, that are interested in this model, but it just the values don't all align yet. And this is an opportunity to not come in and just join what's already been built, but actually shape what's being built.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that guys like you and I have got to right or wrong, deserve it or not, we've got to be a part of building a foundation for this company to grow in a big way. And I love that none of us took the bait and said, you know what, let's go as fast as we possibly can, call everyone we know. Instead, we said, if we go do the work and we build a brokerage that's actually worthy of an agent bringing their business to it, well, then wouldn't people reach out and want to be a part of it? And we've tested that theory, and then we've watched it play out. And so it's a mindset. It's a really cool place. And when you really look at Real, and my first conversation I ever had with Tamir, it was not about the revenue share model and all the similarities to other brokerages that were cloud-based and all that stuff. It was actually what made us different that got me excited. And I hate to say it, but how we buy real estate 5 or 10 years from now could be different.
It could be very different.
It could be very different.
And I'm very bought into Tamir's vision of how he wants to reimagine that home buying process for the consumer and for the agent.
Here's the thing. If you don't iterate, right, like if you're not working on the 1.0 version of the problem, you don't even get a chance to learn and then create the 2.0 version and then the 5.0. So what we're working on today, although I hope this is going to help lead the future for agents, for consumers, towards a better service for everyone. At the end of the day, I'm confident that as we learn through the process of actually working on it, we will constantly shift and change and alter course to respond to what the market wants, to respond to how AI is evolving and how quickly it's evolving. And I wanted to be at a place that saw that the future is so much more different. It doesn't have to be scary, but the future also gets to be written. And I looked around at so many other brokerages and I thought, they're not writing what the future of this industry could look like. But who is, right? And that's what got me excited, because the only other people that I saw that were out there really talking about the consumer, talking about how technology would disrupt this industry, were companies that were hell-bent on removing the agent from the center of the deal.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
A lot of these, they're not even real estate brokerages. They're coming into our industry trying to disrupt it by eliminating the agent.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great place to end of it. Brad,
Dude,
thank you so much, man.
It was a blast.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
Great conversation.